Hey everyone, welcome back. It's another edition of the Pick Six. I'm your host, Mike Wobschall, inside TCO Studios at the Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. Thank you, as always, for sending in your questions. Great discussion topics. Let's talk about them and give you some answers. Question number one comes from Randy in Ontario. Nice to see Mr. Rudolph re-signed. My impression is he is a class act as well as a quality player. No doubt about it, Randy, you hit the nail on the head. Kyle Rudolph, very productive on the field for the Vikings. The most touchdowns by a tight end in franchise history. That guy right there, number 82, and he's going to add to that total in 2019. Remember, Kirk Cousins said it's like throwing to a mattress. That's how big and that's how sure-handed he is, and of course, he's great off the field as well. He was the Vikings Community Man of the Year and a finalist for the NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Kyle Rudolph, an all-around player, an all-around great guy as well. Question number two comes from Steve in Superior, Wisconsin. Why isn't Ameer Abdullah solidly in the conversation as the number 2 running back on the Vikings? This is 3 weeks in a row we've handled a question about the second running back on the depth chart behind Dalvin Cook. That's because we are stacked at running back. Ameer Abdullah, Rock Thomas, Alexander Madison, Mike Boone, that's just the start. Here's the bottom line. The Vikings are going to need all of them in 2019. The running back position is one that takes a lot of hits, plus running backs can help on special teams. So while Ameer Abdullah may not be cemented as RB2, he's definitely in competition for a significant role on this roster at running back, catching passes, running the ball, and maybe even in the return game. Next question comes from Curtis in Easton, Pennsylvania. I'm very excited about our rookies this year, but we have to put the brakes on because there have been some busts too. Skull. Well, you're right, Curtis. You can't hit on every single rookie, on every single draft pick, but the Vikings have a pretty high hit rate when it comes to draft picks under Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer. And I have a good feeling about this year's class as well. Garrett Bradbury looked very good in the offense this spring. He's going to immediately make the Vikings offensive line better in 2 spots with Elflein moving to guard. And that guy right there, Irv Smith Jr., he's only 20 years old, but I think he's going to contribute on offense for the Vikings in 2019. And the aforementioned Alexander Madison looks like a beast to tackle, always falling forward, runs with great momentum and great balance. He can also catch the ball. So I love the Vikings rookie class in 2019. I'm looking forward to watching them get more incorporated into the team during training camp. Next question comes from Paul in Seattle. I'm really cheering for Jordan Taylor to make the roster because of his size. But is he also a candidate to return punts, or would that put him at more risk to injury? Well, yeah, if you're also a candidate to return punts, you're a candidate to get injured doing that job. And I think Jordan Taylor may take some reps as a punt returner, but I also think Ameer Abdullah is going to be in there. Mike Hughes, once he gets healthy, he's going to be in there. Chad Beebe's going to be in there. Jordan Taylor, his main contribution should come as a pass catcher in this offense. He knows this offense very well, not just what Kevin Stefanski wants to do, but he's been in Gary Kubiak's system as well. Jordan Taylor does have good size, 6'5", so big-time catch radius. He's a physical guy. He's got good speed as well. I think he's right in the thick of it for competition at WR3. Next question comes from David in Rochester, Minnesota. What do you see as the biggest challenge for the Minnesota Vikings this season? A couple of things, and it all has to do with the opponents. The Vikings are in a really good division. As much as that guy right there, Everson Griffin, loves sacking that guy right there, Aaron Rodgers, it's a hard thing to do. And when you don't sack that guy, he's really good, and he's not the only good quarterback in the NFC North. Mike Zimmer has to contend with Mitchell Trubisky and Matthew Stafford as well. So the Vikings play in a tough division with the Bears, the Packers, and the Lions. And here's the other thing about the Vikings in 2019. Some weird scheduling quirks late in the year. 2 West Coast night games in December. That's going to be a challenge for this roster as well. But here's the good news. We have a really good, talented roster. They're going to be up for the challenge, and I think they're out to prove something in 2019. Can't wait to watch this team. Next question comes from Maroof in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Do you think it is challenging for Coach Zimmer to compete with the brilliant young head coaches in the league right now? Oh, yeah, I think it's challenging, but I also think it's challenging for those brilliant young head coaches, especially the offensive-minded ones, to compete with that guy, Coach Zimmer. Sean McVay and that Rams offense, yeah, they were high-flying last season. when we went to Los Angeles and they scored in the 30s. But remember the game 2 years ago at US Bank Stadium? The Rams scored on the first possession of the game, and they never scored after that. I also thought the Vikings did a pretty good job against Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers in Week 1 last season. Now in the NFC North, the Vikings have a couple of young offensive-minded head coaches. Matt Nagy is the head coach of that team right there, the Chicago Bears. The Green Bay Packers have a young offensive-minded head coach, and Matt LaFleur as well. So is it challenging going up against those young offensive-minded coaches? Yeah, it is, but it's also challenging for those guys to go against our head coach. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Pick Six. Thank you for watching, and thank you for sending in your questions. Now, we want you to be in next week's edition of the Pick Six, so use that email address right there at the bottom of the screen. Send us a question or an opinion, and maybe we'll see you next week.